So we are here to talk about Lovers of the Red Sky, episode 5. That's episode 10, Lisa.
Sorry, I was like, 5.
I was like, wait a second, did we jump ahead that far?
No, that would be a Chinese drama having episode 55.
No kidding, right? Could you imagine? Although, like, this actually kind of gives me some vibes of some Chinese dramas a little bit.
A little bit, yes. Very much the ornateness of it all.
Yes, and the high fantasy vibes we've got going on here. Where did we leave off last episode was kind of, I feel like we were not so sure last episode, right?
Yeah, last episode we were both feeling kind of meh. Mm-hmm. It was a bit disappointing. There's a lot of story and plot holes that were starting to like be more and more obvious. Mm-hmm. Personally, episode 5 made up for episode 4 a bit for me, but I know you were saying that it was still kind of meh for you.
Yeah, it's we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I felt like this whole entirety of this episode could have been like half an episode or like a scene in a bit. like, I felt like maybe it didn't deserve the whole hour or so per se. Like I just feel like it could have been a lot more condensed than what it was. So
yes, it's an episode that takes place entirely in one event in the story. And they were able to like fill it in a lot of little small bits and a lot of little like minute detail and little like Easter eggs here and there where it might be important later on the story and different aspects of the story. But I could see where you're coming from that like one event in the story, it didn't have to be a whole episode.
Well, I should have been pre-warned based on the title of the episode that comes up on the screen where it said it was the competition and it says part 1.
I know.
So it's like going in, you should anticipate this competition is going to be more than one episode long.
I know.
So that was like kind of my, okay, interesting. But I mean, This is like we've been amping up for this contest the whole time, right? Waiting to see what's going to happen with it. So I was like, okay, well, I guess a lot can happen. And so, yeah. So my struggle with it, I guess, is the fact that we're going through this, which is all fine, and all these things need to happen for the storyline. Totally makes sense to me. We're so focused on this one scene and this one moment that we know it's going to happen anyway. And there is like all these little minute things that are kind of nice, but then the development of things like the rest of Haram's story and what he's planning to do and the other princes and what their motives are and stuff, like nothing more. I didn't learn anything more.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that I already knew, if that makes sense.
We focused this episode, I'd say, with very, very, very focused on Chung-gi and her story and her potential as this divine painter. This is sort of just all like destiny messing around and giving her the chance to prove who she is and who she's going to be in the story. And it pretty focused on her and not so much everybody else, right?
Yeah. And I think the other thing I have an issue with in this whole story is like kind of multiple characters, but the lack of everyone knowing who everybody is within the story. Like the fact that Haram and Chung-gi don't know who each other are, but we're sort of knowing that they do remember each other, yet they're still questioning whether they are who they think they are, which seems unbelievable. But then also the people that don't know about Haram's second personality and that unbelievableness, but then also Chung-gi being the divine painter's daughter, and it's like, why did they all just forget about the divine painter existing in the first place and not know her level? Like there's just a lot of weirdness like that makes it kind of weird for like odd for me that like it bugs me enough I can't remove that part out of my brain to stop focusing on the fact that like why
it's becoming a bit of like a nagging distraction for you to really enjoy the story, right?
Yes, I'm finding it's just there's been a lot of scenes where I'm like, okay, if this could just be acknowledged, we could move on and a lot more things could happen. But
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, that's my little pet peeve. But like aside from that, like I still love the actress. Like part of what keeps me in it, the actress is I find her really charming, and I still enjoy her character, and I like where it's trying to go. I just am having a little bit of trouble with the pace, I think, of the story. So
Yeah, I think they're spending a lot of time on certain moments and not enough time on others that would have been more satisfying.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to put it. But I mean, without like further whatever, we can actually just jump into it. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
thinking of that, like so we start with she's all of a sudden kind of trying to get into the contest, right? And then all of a sudden they're trying
Yeah,
to deny her.
she needs this sort of like ID plaque to prove that she's a painter to get in, and of course she
Like, are
doesn't.
we in historical drama? They had IDs back then.
I know they do.
Sorry,
They
that
did.
made me laugh.
I know.
Okay.
It's a little wooden plaque, so she doesn't have this to prove that she's
Who she
able
is.
to join the contest because she forgot it at home, whatever, if she ever had it to begin with. But like she's trying to get in there, not letting in. Of course, like the bad guys from the old like art dealership, whatever, come across, and they're gonna cause some trouble and try and drag her away.
Mm-hmm.
But dun dun dun, Haram comes to the rescue in the nick of time and like takes care of these bullies with only a slight tiny little bit of help from our favorite bodyguard.
Which best part of this whole episode? Just saying.
I thought Steph would like this.
Were those darts? What was that?
Stones, like little stones that you picked up.
He grabbed them. So good. I just love how he's like so silent and yet deadly. And like barely any action from this man. He did not break a sweat knocking those people.
No. He took care of it. He helped him out, took care of a little bit of the loose ends for Haram. Haram was able to handle himself pretty well, but he finished it up for him, nice and clean.
So yes, this is another saving grace of the show. I do really enjoy this character. It's comical without it trying to be comical, which is
exactly.
But yeah, yes. I really enjoy that. So yeah, we gotta see him kick some butt. Hence the shoulder. They've been waiting to show off the muscles again, I guess.
Exactly. He knows how to take care of himself. So we'll have to hand it for him for that, and gets her into the competition. And she's also grateful that she's going to help him to his seat. And we get this little bit of like internal monologue from Haram saying like, even if she is who I think she is, and like I have feelings for her, like I can't be with her because of these grand plans I have against the royal family.
Grand plans. So we still don't know.
We still don't know anything.
See, that's where I get annoyed. I'm like, okay, keep talking, but see no action whatsoever.
I know. Give me some like proof that you actually have a plan. Because like you telling the viewers what your plan is and isn't revealing your plan to like the people you're doing this against. So like a little information, please.
Well, or action at all. Like we haven't seen him do anything that shows he has ill intentions yet at all, right? Like
or like some kind of revenge
or sus or like nothing.
No, he's just going around and gathering information. That's all he's doing. That's all he's been doing.
To people.
and being fake nice to people, yes.
But it doesn't even seem fake. That's the thing. I'm like, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, it's definitely fake when it comes to like Second Prince when he has to greet him. And like Second Prince's attendant, which was the guy that like killed his mother and father.
Okay, so I guess that is like the only thing we saw that he is aware that guy is present, and that
and he completely remembers who he is and what he did and all that fun stuff.
Yes, and so interesting. And then we have we see the second prince there being present and whatever, And again, that's what annoys me. He's there and there's nothing that comes out of him being there.
Other than the fact that
he's amused by it all, or he's taking note of Chungi, right?
He's taking note of Chungi. He's taking note of his brother.
Yes.
Because Third Prince is hosting the painting contest, and he's just doing his thing as a host and running the contest. But it's funny because like Second Prince is seeing all these, he's interpreting actions and words that Third Prince is saying and doing as something like he's a rival. He's like getting jealous or he's getting competitive. It's like the typical like crazy monarch that thinks everybody is working against them. Everybody's an enemy
in his ear, right? So it's like less I'm feeling like actually the second I keep on saying second lead second prince's idea is more as it's this guy feed. I mean, that's kind of the usual trope, right? Where you have the advisor feeding them bad information and making them
devil in the ear, right?
Yeah,
sort of changing your opinions of people and your interpretation of their actions is something that's like going against you.
Yeah.
And this is like total crazy tyrant monarch in the making if he ever gets the throne.
Yeah. And I mean, it does though. Like I have wondered about the Third Prince as well and how true his intentions are, or if any of his actions are calculated or just him just being nice. And I don't really know either. We don't get as much.
Personally, I don't think his actions is calculating. Like he has no designs on the throne. He has nothing to do with it. He's fine in his position. He's happy to enjoy art and be rich and not have to worry about running the country. But when you have like, it's like the trope of like most historical dramas when there's like fighting in the family for the throne. There's the one guy who wants all the power sees an enemy like in every face around him and every family member around him. And that's why you get like these terrible stories about these like kings or emperors that would basically kill their entire family because any family member would have like a claim to the throne if he was ever tried to get rid of, right? So, and it's just, I was like, I don't know if that was necessary in this particular story, but that seems to be the motivations that they're giving Second Prince for his power hungriness.
I guess so. And then I guess where I was like flip-flopping on the Third Prince is like, we'll see later on, but his personality changes a little bit, or he acts a little
very
differently.
Serious, eh?
Yeah. So it's like, I could see he could have that side to him. So it's like, not necessarily that I'm thinking that's his intentions now, but maybe he can be flipped as a character a little bit depending on what happens to him and the impact. Like he seems to be affected more easily in a personal way than other characters. So I could imagine him maybe acting out of emotions or something like that. And because of what station he has and he's well in with like the rest of the like higher echelon in their palace, that maybe he could have more pull if he really wanted it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he seems to me like the type of character, like even though they didn't look for leadership and they didn't look for that kind of power, but once they have it, they take it, they take responsibility for it and they actually do a good job.
Yeah, so maybe like that's where we'll end at the end of the story, is that maybe he will be in that position.
Maybe, you never know.
Fact, like the oldest one is clearly ill and then this one is not a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. Because oldest one is basically non-existent in the story other than the fact that they talk about him.
Which again, I'm like, can they not give this guy a character at least and allude to what his actual illness is? Like,
yeah, he's just this mysterious like ghost figure that we hear word of, but we never really see.
Yeah, it's kind of peculiar. So they get the contest started. There's a lot more people in this contest than I realized. And then I understood after, it was like it's all these different regions, it seems like, coming together.
Yeah, you hear talk about all the different people from this Jolado, and
I didn't mind that. Again, more drawn out probably than needed to. That they have like these different kind of painter characters and whatever. That was okay and kind of fun, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of like this kind of like convoluted using a poem as the theme. Mm-hmm. And like you're having to like interpret a poem through a painting using specific elements.
Yeah.
And I can understand it being challenging and stuff like that. And it was interesting. Like it was hard. Like I'm not like the biggest poetry person. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to really like get into that part of it. But it was interesting like seeing everybody's interpretation of what to do with the theme and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess like I thought I would be more excited about it because I was like, oh, like, okay, art related paintings. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. I was a little let down in the sense of like when they start, like, interesting how they had the voting situation, like how you vote.
The judges, yeah.
That was all fine. But then like when it came to them assessing it and their like reasons for assessing it, and then like a lot of them were very similar. I mean, exactly. They all kind of painted the same thing, just in different ways a little bit. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. It just like lost its intrigue for me, because it would have been a lot neater if it was something that people could interpret in many different ways. And then it could have been more interesting. But they were all kind of all doing butterflies and the tree and the like all the stuff that was
butterflies
in the poem. Butterflies again. Why is every drama obsessed with butterflies, Lisa?
I know exactly. I was just thinking, the butterfly again.
Yes, I'm like,
because, and of course, this, when it comes to Chung-Yi's like judging, the butterfly is what exposes her as the counterfeit painter to the prince, and he gets all pissed off and like boots her out of the competition because of it.
Well, this also turned me for a loop because he sounded so eager in wanting to know who the painter was.
Yeah, but
he was so negative about it. I thought he was gonna want to reward them for being so good for some reason. The way
I know exactly, but it turns out he was like, especially when he realized it was her who he was like kind of attracted to, and it turns out she's a counterfeit painter, and he's just like all disappointed in her for not being who he thought she should be.
Which I don't know what he thought after all the sass she gave him.
I don't know exactly.
I don't think she started on the right foot either in terms of being perfect.
No, exactly. But what I loved about this, like, so Third Prince basically says, you're out of the competition. And she's like, I want to know why. And she challenges it. And like, nobody else does this, but she decides she's going to stand up and do this because how important this competition is to her. So she goes on this whole thing, and she sort of confronts him for like making the competition not fair and like it just being based on his own opinion. And it's like, yeah, a little calling out a little bit of hypocrisy there. Mm-hmm. So like, good on her for doing that. It's probably if we were really in the Joseon era and she was doing this to a prince, she might get herself killed.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't think she would live through that moment.
No, but luckily, I guess you would call the character is sort of like the head of the Royal Painting Bureau, I guess is what he is. And so he has this like all pass, like where it can override the majority judge's decision if he chooses to use it. So he knows who she is. He knows she's the daughter of the divine painter, and he knows who her father is. And even though like Chung-Gi's headmaster is like, I don't want her being in this competition, like you both, I guess, something to do with her father again. Why? I'm not really quite sure on her headmaster's. Yeah, that I didn't get quite
because
sure
he
either.
Just does it anyway, right? Like, because he disregards what he even said and was like,
yeah. Her headmaster. Yeah, her headmaster doesn't want her there and he doesn't want her to pass. I guess he's trying to protect her for some reason in some way. But this head of the bureau, royal bureau, is just like, no, she's just too good. You got to pass her.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where I didn't get that whole piece either. It kind of was a bit odd to me, but
yeah, like I said, it's just, if you're not paying, if you don't understand like every little tiny bit, it could get so confusing.
Well, or I guess it's not the fact that it's confusing. It's just like I find it odd that it's like this big revelation that she is the divine Peter, but people knew she was, and then it's like they know of her dad, and like so the fact that it's been such a mystery or so long, or that she was there and they weren't acting upon her being a divine Peter up until this point seem
well, it's like they're trying to hide her. It's like the people that know her best and like are trying to protect her or trying to hide her or something. It seems that's what I got a little bit of it, but she's so desperate to win this competition. Like,
well, she wants to be proved to the same way, I guess, and all that.
And not to mention like money for medicine to save her father and blah, blah, blah.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like really, it's like interesting in some points, but like hard to follow in others.
I guess I found more, I enjoyed watching her friends in it and journey and whether they were going to make it or not, because it's kind of like you obviously know with her there's no way she's not going to make it, because that's the whole point of the whole thing. But so it was nice to see like what her friends did and whatever, and like I was a little bit more invested in that than I was about the writings on the wall of what we knew was going to happen already. And maybe that's why I'm like not enjoying it as much as it's like, because I just know what's going to happen, because there's no way that wouldn't be the result of it, I guess. So
yeah,
it's a little predictable, I guess, is what it is. And there wasn't as much in this episode that I could like, I don't know.
Yeah, they made it a whole episode.
Yes.
But it was just a lot of little things that sort of like filler. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it a lot more than the previous episode, but now that we're talking about it, I can like hearing what you're saying is sort of like makes me realize there's still a lot of holes going on here.
Yeah, and then like I was trying to think, and the whole time Haram's there, and you can see he's sort of being interpreted a little bit about what's going on. Like the guy is like writing in his hand or something with his finger.
Yeah. Do you like Helen Keller?
Yeah.
So she learned to write by like doing the letters on her hand. So I think that's what his aide was doing. He was sort of like, he was writing on his hand and sort of like explaining what was happening without saying it out loud for him.
Yeah. And so that was all interesting, which, okay, am I crazy? Did you see him have voting tiles?
Yes, he had voting tiles. He was a judge.
How? He's blind. Sorry, okay, I thought I like imagined it, and then I was like, why would they give him tiles?
Well, you know, because he was
I guess his bodyguard or whoever could vote
his assistant, his aide was
very good or not good. Like,
exactly. So sort of explaining what that is, and I guess he could base his opinion. But like out of left field for second round of the competition, the third prince has Haram come up and give the poem that was going to be the inspiration for the next painting.
Like he didn't have much reason for being there besides that part at that point.
And of course, like Mr. Like, I can't let my feelings for my old friend get in the way of my future plans of revenge. But yet I will recite a poem about the peach blossoms that will trigger Chungri to remember her guy Haram from childhood and make her be like, no, is Supervisor Ha my Haram?
Oh God.
She's like triggering memories.
That's where I'm like, why could like this? That's where I get annoyed. I was totally okay with her not remembering because she forgot, but the fact that she still does remember and hasn't connected it. annoys me. I'm like, come on, people.
But based on, okay, so we're at the end of the episode, and like this is all happened, and based on the little bit of a preview from next episode, I think she finally gets it.
which is fine. It's just it kind of ruined it making sense naturally.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it seems like they're kind of, I don't know. It's just, to me, if I met you, Lisa, when we were kids, how many Lisa Scotts do I run into my life? Otherwise,
exactly.
or whatever, or whomever's like, you know what I mean? Like, how could I assume there's no one else? like it's just assuming there's so many people that have passed by in your life that are so similar that it could have been anybody.
And I can understand like a little bit in ways like before they're like, he knew what she looked like as a child, but he's blind now, so he can't make that facial recognition.
That makes sense.
And the same thing for her, like she was blind, but in like, you know, puberty, so voices change.
Like, yeah, I could get it, but then but once you know their name, that shouldn't.
Yeah, but even like he knows her name, but still doubts she's the same person, and she knows his last name.
I don't know. Anyway,
she's not making the connection.
Applicable reason. It just feels kind of weird right now, and I just need that part to be resolved already.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are, end of episode 5. A lot has happened in one event in the story. And here we are.
Yes, and here we are. Next episode, still in the contest.
Still in the contest. We still don't know Haram's master plan for revenge. And it's just, yeah, here we are.
So that was my biggest pet peeve with the episode, is we didn't learn really anything new. It was all just kind of, I don't know. We knew she was the divine painter. It's just now everybody else knows, I guess.
Exactly. We're just, yeah, exactly. A lot happened and not a lot happened.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Yes. So I don't know. I'll hope that there is more to come in the next upcoming episodes. Like I'm still not necessarily thinking it's a lost cause. But this can often be what I experience in some dramas that does turn me off at times, is when the pace really drags out quite a bit. And that, like, I don't know, there's definitely been some dramas I've seen that could have been half the amount of episodes that it was. Sometimes they like to do that, where they will drag out every single.
You know, it's so funny because we've mentioned before how well Korean drama do those like focus on the small moments that we can appreciate that most don't. But then sometimes they do it a little too much and it drags out.
There's a fine line.
Yeah, there's a fine line between appreciating the small moments and just putting a whole lot of filler.
Well, it's like, and when to do it, right? Like there's certain moments that it makes sense, or like I find sometimes it's a lot of what adds to the time is the recapping. And it's funny because this one this has nothing to do with recapping, but it's just they really strung out a single scene really long.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Different series do it differently in terms of how they drag out the time. But yeah, I don't know if it does seem to. I don't know if how you watched it, but I felt like it had these commercial breaks built into it, where it had natural pauses, and I was like, oh, I never experienced that before in another show I had watched like this. So it's almost like it's giving me made for TV vibes.
It is. Like, that's what it's for.
It is for, but you know what I mean? Of like the Hallmark movies that are made for TV. It's like that whatever company is doing it is maybe a smaller budget something. Like, you know what I mean? It's not quite on the same level as other dramas somehow, and maybe that's why it's the way it is. I don't know.
But you do realize when it's aired on Korean TV, they do have commercial breaks.
Oh, of course. I just mean like in the way that it's not as professionally, like in other shows, we wouldn't notice that as much. And
it doesn't seem as polished.
Yeah, so it just
Yeah.
exposed that to me, and then it made me realize like maybe it's just not done by a studio that's not necessarily as up there and whatever, and maybe that's part of why it's not as like, I don't know, maybe there's not as many people going through it and scrutinizing over the what we got to make sure is happening in this episode to make people are like glued into it every single week. Because like I think we've seen some series where they've actually changed storylines as they go along because they're trying to like
Keep
that's
people
where
interested.
I'm curious, right? Like if something like that'll happen because
Yeah.
of how it's going. But anyway.
Yeah, back in the day when they used to air simultaneously as filming, they used to switch things up quite a bit.
So on this note of us being kind of like unsure about what's going on, we have decided we're not going to drop the drama. So I think there's like, we both agree there's still hope there. We're still enjoying it to a certain degree. Maybe not quite as much as our Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha series that we're doing right now. But it has given us some food for thought in terms of going through episode by episode and what might be best for us in the channel and how we go about things. And so this drama, we're thinking that maybe it might be good to come back and revisit after we've finished watching it. So Lisa and I will continue to watch the episodes and take note of what we thought along the way. And then we're going to come back to you at the very end with a shorter bite-sized episode just to tell you our final thoughts on it and if we actually really did end up loving it in the end or not. And kind of
exactly
for you.
Yeah, so we're gonna test out a new kind of content for you, and hopefully you are digging it, and we'll see how it goes. So this is going to be a bit of a guinea pig episode. So
yeah, we think that, and you know, it's like we love these episodes where we're sitting and chatting, and we enjoy it. And I mean, Lisa and I love digging in deeply, but we can also understand too sometimes people just want to know the it a bit, like is it worth watching or not. And so with this one, which we thought was interesting that we're having conflicting feelings, that it might be a good one to do that with. So when we do it, we're going to make sure that we have a bite-sized bit, but to satisfy our own need to talk about it a little bit more, we'll have a little bit of a session afterwards where we will talk about it more in depth. So if you do really enjoy these conversations that we're having, we're still going to have them. We're just going to give you the option of doing a short length versus a long length viewing for yourself, and get a little bit of little bit of both worlds is what I want to
exactly say. We're gonna have a little bit more variety for you for different tastes.
Rest assured, we are both really enjoying Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha a lot, and that one I think we're going to continue doing straight till the end.
Exactly.
We've gotten as far as we did, and we're really enjoying that series. So you might start seeing us doing a little bit more of those episodes back to back instead in the meantime.
Yeah, gonna change things up a little bit and see how it goes.
Yeah, and like always, if you have any comments about what we're saying here and our ideas about changing our content on the channel a little bit, and if you have any feedback for us, we'd absolutely love to hear it. You know, like, do you enjoy these long range episodes we're doing, or would you rather it just be shortened and sweet and to the point and summed up for you? So we'd like to know what you're thinking, and as always, just give us a comment, give us a like, subscribe for more.
Hit that notification bell so you can always be up on the latest video, and we'll talk to you later.
Yes, we'll see you at the end of this series, and we'll talk about it again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Bye.